Hi guys, my name is Jayesh and this is episode 2 of our series where we'll understand what is execution context, what is form context and what is Xrm.Page. Why do we need context? Context is needs to do event driven programming. Like whenever our onload events trigger, whenever our on save event trigger, whenever our on change event trigger. So we have to do task in a particular context like our current form context. So do this kind of things we just need the context. Our first agenda is what is execution context. Execution context is a runtime object that is provided automatically whenever JavaScript is triggered by the Dynamics 365. It contains the parameters like event source, form context, event arguments, shared variables, and execution depth. We use these things to manipulate our data or to make the UI decisions based on our conditions. Talking about the component we get from execution context, we get the event source, like what specific event triggers our JavaScript. We get the form context. Form context give us the information about our current form we are working on, like data in our fields, our form controls, our tabs, sections, our BPFs, this kind of things we can achieve using form context. Then we have event arguments. Like whenever we try to hit the save button, it will trigger the save events, which means event arguments. So if we have to stop our form save events, we can use event arguments in our JavaScript to stop this. We use shared variable. Shared variable is not mostly used in our JavaScript, but we can use it when we don't want to retrieve data multiple times in our JavaScript. So we can use shared variable, retrieve one time data, stored in shared variable, and we can use it later. Then we have execution depth. It is used to check our JavaScript run, like doesn't run multiple time on our specific form if we want to. So this is the execution context component we can use. Let's see how the execution context is used in our code. So whenever we try to create our function, we just pass execution context as a parameter in our function. So we can use this later to get the form context, get the fields, get the depth, this kind of things. It is very useful when we have to manipulate our data on forms, on grids using the ribbon workbench. This is our second agenda of our video. What is form context? Form context is a object provided inside the execution context we use to get the current form instance. We can manipulate data using the form context like our attributes, our fields, our BPF. Let's take an example, like if we have to hide a field on basis of another field, so we will use form context dot get control dot set visible with the value of true or false, and we can hide those particular fields. In form context we get the attributes, which means field data and their states. We get the controls, like if we have to set a field required, hide or disable, we can use the controls. We can get the tabs and section structures and hide them or disable them using form context. We get the BPF stages and hide those values, hide fields on this particular thing. We get this kind of data in our form context. Let's see how we get the form context in our code. So to get the form context, we firstly need our execution context as a parameter in our function. Then we'll use that execution context to get the current form context. We can use the method execution context dot get form context, by which we can get the current form context. Inside those we get fields, controls, and this kind of things. There is a overview of component present inside the form context, like attributes. Attributes are just data present on our fields. Controls, our fields UI is controls. Then we get our tabs and sections. We can set notification, we can get the BPF processes, we can get the entity metadata. This is the normal form context code, like how to get value of particular field, how to get control of particular field, and set visibility true or false based on our condition. Our next agenda for this video is Xrm.Page. What is Xrm.Page? Xrm.Page is a legacy global object that is deprecated now by Microsoft. Doesn't recommend to use Xrm.Page, so we'll use the form context. Xrm.Page gives us the global object for our model driven application, like we can access the field using the Xrm.Page, but it is global, so we cannot get the current event or this kind of things. So we use the form context now. It is deprecated, so do not use it. You can see the code difference between both of them. Like in Xrm.Page, we doesn't need any type of execution context because it's a global object. But in form context, we used to get the execution context first and get the execution context to get from context to get the fields and these kind of things. There is a code difference. Okay, so whenever we are on our Dynamics 365 form editor, when we try to register our event, we have to go for our field. On field, we have to go to our events tab. On event handler, we select and we give a function name here, and we'll have to check this checkbox because it is used to get the execution context. Without this checkbox, we cannot get the execution context, and without execution context, we doesn't get the form context and perform our logic. Here as a summary. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like the video for more such informative content. We'll see you in next episode.